Welcome back to Bunny Banter, first and only podcast for everything Killer Bunnies. I'm your host Matt, here with co-host Mikey.
Hello.
And as a guest today, we of course have Chris.
Hey,
What have we talked about today, Mikey?
Today we are talking about Orange Booster.
Yep, so as usual, we're having our every other episode, the booster review. We're up to the Orange Booster now. Quite exciting. One of my favorites of the original quest line. I like some of the newer boosters better these days, but it was certainly one of my previous favorites, so my list was quite easy to make, including the ban, because there's one card I absolutely despise in here. But we'll get into that. So as usual, everyone will have their ban card, which is a card that perhaps you don't like seeing played or you don't like drawing, one of the two usually. And then the top three favorite cards. So we'll get right into it with the ban cards. My ban card is the Rooneys Weapons Emporium Low Prices. So for those on the YouTube, I'll have the images up, but for those listening on Anchor, it reduces the prices of defense cards to 1, which is already, if it was just that, incredibly toxic, because defense cards are one of the most efficient sources of dollar management in the game by relative value measurements. And if you make it only cost 1, oh boy, all of a sudden, it's just that much more efficient. And Chris and I have had a couple of games recently where this card's been played, and one of the players gets all the defense cards and the other players do not, and all of a sudden that one player has control of the game. Because of the second reason this card is crazy toxic is the weapons cost half as much, so you could buy a nuclear warhead for $6, and they are launched immediately. So inevitably, one player gets ahead, they stay ahead because they have the defense cards, and if any other player tries to play anything, the player that's ahead will just purchase weapons and launch them instantly because they'll have more money than the players who are behind, and it's definitely a win more situation. Chris has been the victim of that. I think I did to Frank and Mikey once. I think it was Frank and Mikey that was the 3-player game with that situation. But yeah, you get the idea. Incredibly dangerous card to play. Several may not have realized this because the shops are sometimes viewed as irrelevant, the shop cards, but watch out for the low price ones because they are certainly relevant. Pawn shop one's relevant as well, but definitely less toxic. Okay, Chris, what's your ban card?
well, my ban card is. I actually overlooked the low price. I probably would have changed my answer, but that's okay. I still equally hate this one, even though it's not nearly as powerful. I picked Wheelerware. It's a very special that basically negates Wheel's freshness center. Which is, I tend to dislike the cards that only really stop one other card in the game, or a couple cards in the game, because the likelihood of their relevance is usually less than 1% in a game. Because you're not going to sit on this card until that one card out of 2,000 cards is played. So I just don't think it should exist.
I wonder if I'm trying to remember back when we played not full set, as we were adding boosters gradually. We ended up adding the boosters in the order starter sets, then violet, then orange, because red booster was not available at the time. So at that time, Wheelwheeler felt pretty good because Wheel's Special Center was played much more frequently, but in the full sets, yeah, even if I'm playing a passive strategy, I'll probably just cycle this one by discarding it, which is
It's an easy
very
dump card.
unique, because if I'm playing a passive strategy, I usually like skipping a turn anyways by saving an irrelevant special, but this one is just not good enough even for that, at least when I'm playing passive neutral. Okay, Mikey, what's your band card?
My band card is the Monumentally Mad Donalith Bakery. Um, I pretty sure that back when we did the blue deck, my band card was the Mad Donalith Bakery. So this is just following the theme. Um, essentially, as I've talked about before, when I don't like these cards where I risk if I play them on myself, I risk losing something. Um, I would much rather it be that I roll the dice and potentially gain something or don't gain something rather than potentially gain something or potentially lose something. If I were to play this card, I would play it on an opponent. I don't care if my opponent receives 3 carrots or 2 carrots or 3 cabbage and water or whatever. If that doesn't bother me. Um, if they did that, that'd be fine. What I would obviously be hoping for would be rather that they have one of the bad things happen to them. But I'm not going to play this card on myself. Um, so I don't. I just am not a fan of these Donolith Bakery cards. I normally never play them. I just save them and then let them sit there for the entirety of the game. So, yeah.
Okay, that ends the band cards. Now we're going into the top three. My number three, it's a pretty big one here. The Mothership. So everyone remembers Area 51 from the starter decks, and it was also released in some other boosters. But the Mothership has a much bigger impact where you abduct all of the bunnies of one opponent or one player. You could abduct all of your own, of course. Typically used on an opponent in this case because let's pretend one player is significantly ahead, going full freight train aggressive. They have a couple super bunnies, couple pinks, all of that fun stuff, and then just boom! Their entire board is abducted and won't return until another bunny is abducted, which probably won't be for a while. If you have HEMP from the red booster, even better synergy because you can immediately shoot down all those bunnies. It's a 2 in 3 chance to kill all the bunnies with that 2-card combo. And of course, this card starts with the letter M, so it's a very viable target when I'm playing alliteration situation, as though there weren't enough of those. That was my number three, the Mothership.
That's the one abduction. Obviously, there's only Mothership in Area 51 right now, but that's the one that I always question if I should do it on myself or not, because it is got a lot of removal potential. But I also could really stack my next abduction when the next Area 51 comes out.
I have definitely run into situations when playing an aggressive passive strategy where I would think to myself, if I had Mothership right now, I'd be in really good shape because I really want to stop doing this freight train sort of idea. I'm getting too aggressive, I might start getting targeted. I'm just going to wipe out my entire board, but I'll get back later sort of idea. So yes, it certainly does have its uses as a defensive play or even a play for the future, aggressive play for the future. But it's most commonly used against an opponent. That's lesser categories of strategies. But yes, it is quite good in that context as well. Okay, what's your number three, Chris?
I picked a random Feed the Bunny. I don't know if it's the first one that was printed like this, but it caught my eye today when I was looking through the list. And I've thought about how many times it's actually been useful. Usually with the Feed the Bunny cards, it's like a 3 and a 3, or a 2 and a 2, or maybe feed 1. It's never really that substantial. I mean, there are some that are substantial, but when you give them the dice to roll, and they get like a 3 water and a 10 cabbage, it makes it much more difficult for them to succeed, and it's oftentimes just an instant kill.
I have confirmed that this was the first one released. So yes, this is the optimal booster review to talk about it.
Yes.
Calculated prophecy strats.
It does feel really good because you're able to actually control it with. It's the player that played it that rolls.
I be,
Correct.
it's weird, but I do believe it is the opponent.
So there is pawn synergies with this, which makes it even more scary. It's a great card.
Okay, moving on to Mikey's number 3. What you got, Mikey?
Sorry, I had myself muted. Selective disclosure. This one is just it's a neat one. A lot of times when somebody's been playing Killer Bunnies for a while, you start to actually develop a strategy instead of just laying down random cards. And so by being able to see, somebody's top 2 run cards, you can potentially see perhaps what a strategy they're going for, or if they're just coming up with a weapon or something. You lay down your card, they all flip it over, and Bill has a weapon, then you have the most bunnies, so you're pretty sure that it's going to be placed on you. Well, that's an opportune time to purchase defense cards. So, or to do whatever else you might need to do to defend yourself against that weapon. Um, yeah, it's just kind of a nice thing. It could also help with a strategy too. If somebody has no bunnies and they're coming up on the last couple carrots, and that person, you see they're coming up with a bunny, well then you can be pretty sure, you can plan accordingly and then kill their bunny as soon as they lay it down. Um, and it helps you to plan ahead, and it also helps you to be able to see, um, what other people are doing, uh, and how they're planning ahead so that you can destroy them and kill all their bunnies and laugh maniacally in their face.
Yeah, I also love this mechanic. It was probably my number 4 pick. Second disclosure was. I almost wish there. I like the mechanic so much of revealing the opponent's top and bottom run cards that I wish there was something like a pink circle special that you would give to your opponent that makes them play with their top and bottom revealed at all times. That would be
Be cool.
Or even their hand.
I do feel like the problem with selective closers is once you see them, it's oftentimes too late to stop, or negate it. It's if they flip over, a black hole's coming next turn, then you can't necessarily avoid it in all situations. It's always I always feel like I'm too late when I see their top runs.
Yeah, it's like Mikey said, it sometimes requires those instant speed outs of buying defense cards on that turn.
Yeah.
Or if you happen to have the tempo advantage, maybe you have a rank and a triplet, then when you play this, you usually have 1 or 2 more cards to use in response against the opponents that are the biggest threat at that point. So yes, it definitely does require some a bit of synergy. But
when
the
you
very
see that
least,
Atlas Shrug come up, oof.
Yeah. So, sometimes it's good in a passive context too, where if you play this as a passive player, and somebody was thinking about targeting you, but then they realized, hey, this other opponent looks like they're going to backstab me. That's not good. I better take them out instead. It's the secrets or lies passive strategy. If you get everyone to reveal their cards and you realize, hey, I'm not actually threatening you in any way, there's no reason to target me, then they'll probably direct their attention somewhere else, which is the idea. Alternatively, they might take advantage of you and just wipe you out anyway, since you have no retaliation possibilities, but it depends on the group, of course. Okay, moving on to the number 2. I picked an unpopular pick, I believe. The Carrot Top Royale. It is the only card in the entire game that has the optional die mechanic used. I think Jeff believes that it was an unpopular mechanic. It very well might have been. I'm actually a big fan of it. So Carrot Top Royale is, of course, the upgraded version of Carrot Top Casino. The normal results are the 6 dice. You get no duplicates. You get $10 and a carrot, which is decent. If you have a couple rerolls, that's not difficult to do at all. Then it has the optional gamble clause. You can add the extra 7th die, the red die, to the gamble. And if you succeed at that point, along with the normal rewards, you also get 10 more dollar and 2 bunnies. The 2 bunnies being the important part there, of course, because oftentimes you'll get to resurrect something really impactful like law enforcement, for example. But if you fail at that point, and this is why it's unpopular, if you fail at that point, you lose all of your bunnies, all of your carrots, and all of your dollar. So it's very, very, very scary to go for if you don't have the necessary rerolls. I recently did, it was last week, a Dex's Dissection lecture came out with the Carrot Top Royale, looking at different situations on when it's optimal to go for optional red, and it is sometimes, which is weird to think about. But since it seems so impactful if it fails, but it fits perfectly into hidden investments, neutral aggressive, which is one of my favorite strategies to use right now. Very effective. It also fits perfectly into gambler passive strategy, where perhaps I don't have much to lose anyways. I'm just kind of going for the Hail Mary play. And I'm just like, I only have 2 carrots to lose. Let's just go for optional red. Let's try to turn this game around. And it usually works. Don't know how, but it usually works, even without rerolls. It's not statistically likely, but definitely a bit lucky every once in a while. So it's a very key card for a lot of my current strategies, which is why I occasionally go for something like a double green pawn. If I'm feeling more aggressive, I'll go for double red, and we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, definitely number 2 card. One of my favorite cards in all of Full Set, the Carrot Top Royale.
Imagine going for optional red without the necessary rerolls.
I've done it.
Oh no.
I've done it.
Oh no.
Feels bad, but I've done it. And I've been rewarded for it. What's extra fun is if you play this on opponents and persuading them to go for option red. Be like, oh yeah, you got the necessary rerolls. I'm sure you can get it. And then they don't get it. And they're like, no! How did you convince me? I'm like, that's my skill. Okay. What's your number 2, Chris?
I picked choose 3 carrots. I don't think I really need to go into a huge explanation why. This is probably the first one too. It was just like the random.
Right.
Yeah, choose 3 carrots for just owning a bunny. Pretty strong play. It's literally $30 worth of value.
This is one of 2. I was thinking it was the only one, but there's one more choose 3 carrots that was released in Chocolate Booster. There are some conditional ones like Grand Slam, which requires a dice roll. It's also non-aggressive, so that's cool. And the really super conditional one that never sees play, Banality, was released recently in Creature Feature, I think. That requires you to not have played an aggressive card before it. So, 3 carrots is certainly a high value card without a condition. The bunny looks, in the picture, looks very spooked at the idea of power creep.
I mean, when you put it in perspective, playing Supply Surprise gets you 1 carrot. And you play Magic Fountain, you get 1 bunny, probably average. Sometimes 0.
Slightly less, actually.
The fact that you're getting 3 of the value item is ridiculous. Even like free pawn is 2 pawns.
Right.
It's
2
never,
pawns is still $10. Yeah.
It's never a 3 of something.
A success on Carrot Top Royale only gave 1 carrot and $10. So that doesn't compare favorably. Where it compares favorably is that it's a special and you can save it. It's also a P card, so you can play it multiple times. This
Imagine
one,
having your first name start with a C.
oh yeah, there you go. Choose 3 carrots. Or choose a carrot
Yeah,
Greenwich meantime.
yeah.
If it's 6 a.m. Central or 6 p.m. Central. There you go. Choose 3 carrots. You can tell how strong it is by how spooked the bunny is in the picture. You can see he's just imagining 3 carrots on 1 card. Is that fair?
The question is, when are we getting a choose 4 carrots?
Yeah, there you go. Choose 4 carrots. We need that power creep. Good thing power creep doesn't
You
actually
can just keep
exist.
printing. You can just keep printing more carrots, as long as you have more choose higher value
I mean,
carrots.
yeah, we're at 58 carrots now.
Choose 10 carrots. Good play.
Soon to be 68, soon to be 78. Within soon, that's within the next year. I'm counting the 10 from the Killer Bunnies Light Booster, which will be canon, and the 10 promos released with Cake Batter, which will not be canon quite yet. We don't know, but we'll get there. So we will be up to 78 carats soon. Holy
Is
cow!
anything from Cake Batter going to be canon though?
Oh, well, not for a few months.
Oh, oh,
Not for a
whatever you
few
need to
months.
tell yourself. Okay.
Okay, what's your number 2, Mikey?
My number 2 is Incredibly Magic Fountain.
Incredible.
Yes. This is just a good card. It's a little bit better than the Magic Fountain, as you have more dice to roll. And this is the kind of card.
Did we lose Mikey? Uh, Hello? Oh, we lost Mikey. Chris, are you still here? Says he's still here.
Hello.
Hello, you lost connection.
I see that. The internet went out for some reason.
Oh, fun.
That's fun.
That happened a couple times ago, too. Classic.
Yes. Okay. So, what? Where was I at? What was the last thing you heard me say?
Basically right at the beginning. Incredibly Magic Fountain. Slightly better than
Oh,
Magic Fountain. That's about where you cut off.
yeah. Okay. Well, I just talked for a while for nothing. Okay. Um, so, Incredibly Magic Fountain. Slightly better than Magic Fountain as you have more dice to roll. Um, and this is the kind of card that I like compared to, um, the monumentally mad Donolith Bakery, where you roll your dice and you have a chance to lose something as well as, the chance to gain something. Where this is, you roll your dice. There's some loudness on the other end. You roll your dice, and if you get any that match the number you magically predicted out of the air, hey, look at that. Congratulations. You've got a bunny. And if you don't, no harm done to you. I mean, maybe you wasted a turn, but it wasn't necessarily a wasted turn. You had a chance to get a bunny, or however many bunnies. So, yeah. And then you might have the opportunity to resurrect some pretty good bunnies, too. Um, the only thing that's sad about this card is if there are no bunnies discarded, then there's no point in rolling it. But that's okay, because most of the time, there's probably going to be bunnies discarded. The name of the game is Killer Bunnies, so you should probably kill some bunnies.
Okay, that was Mikey's number 2. Now the moment we've all been waiting for, the number 1 card. I think we're figuring out the technical difficulties. My number 1, Mikey might be disappointed, but not surprised. The Monumentally Mad Donolith Bakery. Oh boy, this card. Back in the Dark Ages, 2017, when I initially started realizing, hey, this game isn't all luck based. In fact, it's barely any luck based. In fact, it's pretty much all strategy. I started playing a really aggressive intimidation strategy. And the main win condition of this intimidation aggressive strategy was I'm going to keep on threatening your bunnies, and every time I'm going to ask for something that's worth less than the threat I'm using. For example, if I used nuclear warhead and was threatening to kill 3 of my opponent's bunnies, I might ask for $10 or something like that, a third of what it's actually worth, so that they'll feel obligated to take it strategically. I would keep on doing this until my opponent basically had nothing left. They ran out of all their dollar, they ran out of all their save specials, and inevitably I would end up with a Monumentally Mad Bakery, because somebody would draw one, and I would eventually intimidate them out of it, because they didn't want to play it anyways. They kind of followed Mikey's philosophy of, hey, this card's too risky to play. I agree, which is why I usually went for double red pawn, so that I could play it on my opponents 3 times at the end game, and typically they won at least once, which was incredible. Let's see, what's the odds of that? Let's see. Let me calculate quick. That is, typing is slow. With 3 attempts, that is about a 23% chance to happen, to basically eliminate one player from the game. Killing all their bunnies and returning all their carrots. Usually do it on the last turn when I have all the money to buy all the carrots, and feels bad for them. This card, single-handedly, a little bit help from Carrot Top Royale at the same time, since I also intimidated them out of that, ended up in an uneducated group, because the group was still trying to figure out that the game was strategy. Some of them still haven't and have been on a 4-year losing streak. This was where I got my 13-game win streak. The original large win streak. Completely based on strategies revolving around this card and Carrot Top Royale, mostly this card. So I naturally had to put on the top of my list for this booster. Once we get the second pawn shop, I may consider attempting similar strategies again with quadruple red. Having 5 attempts at 1 in 12. Let's see let's add that to the statistics, shall we? Real quickly here. That makes it a 36% chance to eliminate a player from the game. Seems pretty good. It's quite toxic, making an opponent lose all of their carrots and bunnies at the end of the game. Very mean. Not quite as mean as Zodiac Terminator, but less conditional. Yeah. It's just a great card, and did I mention I can get back with the alliteration situation? As though I didn't have enough cards for that. So that's my number 1 pick, the Monumentally Mad Donolith Bakery. What's your number 1, Chris?
Well, the next card is a card that I believe, if there was ever a holy 10 cards in the whole full set, because of its power, I believe this card belongs in that top 10 or 15 that everybody needs to understand how it works. That being said, I know Matthew's planning to create an episode almost based on this card, or at least part of it, and where he will reveal the golden egg of how to use this ridiculous card. I am not going to go into why it's that good because Matthew wants to reveal it. It's Bunny on the Edge of Forever. Um, Short term, there's many great ways you can use this card in a way that gives you a huge card advantage. If you think beyond that, that's what Matthew's episode is for, and I'm not going to spoil it because I was told not to. And it really is one of the holy 10. Matthew, we have to come up with a list. There's got to be an episode on what are the actual. These are the cards that you need to understand 100% before you play a game, so you know what to watch for. Like there are easily 10 that are scary, 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 and this belongs on the scary list. I don't know what else to say, really. You can explain the card, and then people might get thinking if they haven't thought of it already.
So, Bunny on the Edge of Forever lets a player what's the official word? Replay his turn. Force the current player to replay his turn, so you can use it against the opponent. So let's pretend I just played my turn and I played 5 Monumentally Mad Bakeries on Mikey, and he didn't die. Now I get the opportunity to replay my turn and I get 5 more tries. Which I'm not going to spend the time to put in the calculator, but you can imagine the statistics go up quite nicely. Again, 5 extra attempts. There is a 2-card combo in which one of the cards is not spent with Bunny on the Edge of Forever. That will be revealed and explained in a Carrot Top Academy lecture coming out about 7 weeks from now. The only reason I'm not going to explain it here is because if I don't carefully explain the mechanical nature of some of these cards and diagram them visually, it will sound like I'm cheating. And it will sound like this is not actually a thing that happens, but all of the mechanics have been confirmed. It is definitely not an intended combo to exist, but mechanically exists in every way. But you can look forward to that in about 7 weeks. And in Abu's Absurdities lecture, I did pull off the combo just a few days ago. And I won that game, not because I pulled off the combo, because I actually got hard countered by much more. But it put me in that position where much more was actually relevant. So that demonstrates the power level. So more on that 7 weeks from now. Haha. Okay, the final card. What you got, Mikey?
I have Free Pawn. This is just a nice card to have. Maybe used once by a player to take any 2 pawns from Will's Pawn Shop. Pawns are good. If you're not familiar with the pawn interactions and things you do, pawns allow you to do some pretty cool things, like complete triplets, or play cards over again, or have reroll. And so, the chance you get to get a free pawn is amazing. So, yeah, it's really simple. You just draw it and take it. The only thing is you can't, if the pawn shop's closed, you can't use it. But it's a special card, so you can save it. So, yeah, I can't think of a single thing that's wrong with this card. It's just good.
Yeah, excellent card. Definitely demonstrates the strength of pawns. You know, I mentioned just a bit ago, I often went double red. If I would get this on turn 1, I'd be pretty happy because then I can secure those double red pawns. These days in the full set, our groups tend to focus primarily towards the metal coins first, buying those, and then we focus on pawns and defense cards. So having that free pawn card lets you get the pawns early, and you can secure the pawns that you want. Probably a black pawn is included in there, plus one other. Or if you have that synergy of maybe you already have the P card, oftentimes you'll go double red or double green or double blue, something like that. Excellent card, non-aggressive, gain $10. Very nice. Uh, okay, that was the last card for today. As far as announcements, for next week there will be 2 Carrot Top Academy lectures as usual. We will have the fundamentals for the green booster, adding the Zodiac cards, very exciting, and a Presto's Prognoses on reputation-based strategy, looking at a specific case study for that. 2 weeks from now, we are actually already have the Bunny Banter episode recorded because we have the interview with the representative from Ultra Pro, the other Chris. And that was quite exciting because we got to talk a bit about the Killer Bunnies light set that is coming out in July, if I remember correctly. And we even talked a little bit about Cake Batter, which is coming out in time for Christmas, was the words he used. So, very exciting time for us Killer Bunnies fans. Looking forward to those boosters. So make sure to check out that episode for exclusive news on mostly Killer Bunnies Lights and a little bit on Cake Batter. I think that's all I got for announcements. What you got, Mikey?
Well, the world is an interesting place. Just everybody stay safe. Play Killer Bunnies. It's a fun game. It's a game about social interaction. So let's interact socially and safely. Remember, tabletop simulator is always an option. And everybody just stay safe. And with that, Jeff bless.
Jeff bless.